All right, here is the first half of what we'll be doing for our third day of Unit 3. We're going to be doing 3.3-3, which is congruent triangles, and we'll also be doing 3-6, which is isosceles and equilateral. This video should cover all of congruent triangles today. So we'll start with our bell ringer, which looks like this. So go ahead and pause if you need to, and try it yourself. So the answer to this one, it's a little bit of a brain teaser. So to remove 6 of these matchsticks to get 10, to remove 6 from 15 to get 10, we remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I removed 6 matchsticks and now I have 10. So if you want to pause again and try the more difficult one below. So to remove 10 to get 3, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's how you remove 10 from 25 to get 3. All right. So on this page, and we've only got one page of notes for 3-3, we're talking about congruents and corresponding parts. So congruents, triangles that have the same shape and size, this is up at the top of your page, are said to be, what goes in that blank? Congruent. 2 triangles are congruent if and only if all 3 pairs of corresponding angles and corresponding sides are congruent. So how we write this is very important. So when we look at these triangles in our example, we have to write that AB is congruent to JK, BC is congruent to KL, and CA is congruent to LJ. We also have to write that our angles are congruent. We have to write that A is congruent to J, angle B is congruent to angle K, and angle C is congruent to angle L. Now our congruence statement is how we write which triangle is congruent to which triangle, and it's important which order we put our letters in. So ABC is congruent specifically to triangle AJ, to triangle BK, to K, ABC, to JK, L, AJ, BK, and CL. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle JKL. So that's what we've got written down for our first one. We've got the sides that are congruent written down, our angles that are congruent written down, and then we've got our congruence statement finally written down. That's everything we should have written down for the first one. Okay, so for our second one, we've got our sides, AB and CD are congruent. BC, they share this side, so it's kind of congruent to itself. And AC or CA and BD are congruent. And then our angles, A and D are congruent. ABC, and DCB are congruent. and ACB and DBC are congruent. So our congruent statement will be writing ABC and DCB are congruent triangles. If we get those letters out of order, we will not be writing an accurate congruent statement. And our last one, which sides are congruent? JK and ML are congruent. KL and JM are congruent. And we've again got a shared side in KM. So that side of the triangles are congruent. Angles. We've got parallel lines and transversals to help us figure this one out. MKL and KMJ are alternate interior angles, so they are congruent. MKJ and KML are also a pair of alternate interior angles, so we know that they are congruent. And K and L are going to be congruent because we know angle sum theorem, they are going to be congruent as well, since we already know that those two angles. And also on your paper, you'll notice up at the top the third angles theorem. If two angles of one triangle are congruent to two angles of a second triangle, then the third angles of the triangle are congruent. So those are two separate theorems that we can use to say that J and L are congruent to each other. And that's how we can write that JKM and LMK are congruent to each other. Okay, so down at the bottom, we're going to use the fact that we know that triangles ABC and DEF are congruent to each other to solve for Y and X. So we're going to solve for Y first. So we know that A and D are corresponding angles. They are congruent to each other. So what is Y? And the correct answer is going to be 35. We set 2y minus 5 equal to 65. Subtract 5 from both sides. Divide by 2. We get 35. Or add 5 to both sides. Divide by 2. And then to solve for x, we're going to end up plugging in the value for y right here. We're going to do 2x plus 35. The corresponding side is going to end up being 90.6. We're going to set 90.6 equal to 2x plus 35. We're going to subtract 35 from both sides, divide both sides by 2, and we're going to end up with 27.8. And that's all we've got for 3.3. See the next video for 3.6 so that you can get everything that we're doing on Wednesday, January 8th. And don't forget to do your homework. Both 3.3 and 3.6 will be included for January 8th homework. So make sure you've got both of those done, and make sure to email me if you have any questions.